Whew, alright. What it do, YouTube? This is the Luck of the Luck&Chuck. I'm here with YCS champion Kobe Short. What is up, Kobe?
What up?
Back here again for another deck profile for us. Appreciate it, appreciate it. And what you got this time?
I got 11th with a KASHTIRA deck at the Houston Regional. It's the biggest regional in Texas ever. It was like 600 players, I think.
Right. I heard about that.
Yeah, I don't normally do profiles for like stuff that isn't top 8, but this deck was kind of cool. So.
Okay. All right. So you was proud of it.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Let's get into it, man. What you got?
So I did a profile for the podcast channel.
Shout out to Sonny.
Yeah, shout out to them. But this one's gonna be like a little bit more in depth than that one. So I played KASHTIRA. It was 10 monsters. I'm going by engine. So like it was 25 engine cards and then 16 non-engine cards, 41 card main. So the reason I played this over playing like any other deck in the game, just the card quality for this deck is just better than everything else. There's an argument for like Brand of Fusion being like the best like engine card in the game, but I don't think that compensates for how bad the rest of the Despia cards are. Whereas like this deck can play like Fenrir, which is already like a very potent card in the format. This card gains so much advantage just off of like being on the board. It's always a threat. Like your Shangri-La is gonna summon this a lot of the time. Unicorn gains a lot of advantage too, especially like in games where like, so like you open Unicorn, right? Say you open like Unicorn plus like 2 engine cards, so Unicorn plus one of the spells, this or some weird combination that plays through Ash Blossom, and then like they're only playing the game because they think their Ash Blossom is stopping you, but then whenever this card sees their extra deck, you can see what they're playing before they can concede. The deck knowledge that this card gives you is so important. This card's really strong, the Scareclaw KASHTIRA card. His effect came up a couple times to like summon a dude with him, swing the other dude into their monster, he dies, then their dude's negated for the turn, and then you play your turn. But mostly like he's here because one, he's an extender, 2, he outs Baguska, and also like people are starting to play kaijus. I even play kaijus myself, and this is one of the only cards that helps you play through kaijus. So I could show you all the combo after the profile on how to play through a kaiju with this deck. It's pretty easy. You just have to like keep it in mind while you play instead of just like act as if they don't have it. Ogre was really good. This guy being 28 actually matters because if you have Fuel Spell up and you're playing into a Dragoon, you could special summon this guy and crash into the Dragoon without giving them a chance to like negate something and make Dragoon bigger, which is like huge for this deck because this deck has a problem with not being able to target cards to out them. That's like its main form of interaction. Like one match I had to play through a Guardian Chimera that couldn't be targeted, and like I had to go weird ways to out it. I had to make Diablosis, banish the dude's poly from his grave, and then target the Guardian Chimera to kill it. And then I played 2 Rise Heart. A lot of people play 1. You could play 1 and this would be down to 40 cards, but I wanted the second one because I feel like seeing this card in my hand just makes my hand better a lot of the time. Like the small chance you have of bricking because of this card is, I don't think it outweighs the benefit of having this card as an extra copy in your deck. Because the way I play this deck, I'm going for a Rise Heart control, obviously, because I do think that's the simplest way to achieve your end goal of winning the game. But sometimes I think Shangri-La control is a little bit better. Plays into interactions better, especially if you have Planet up. And like you'll go through a lot of KASHTIRA monsters in your deck whenever you do the Shangri-La stuff. So like having the extra name kind of came up a couple times. I wouldn't change these personally. These are all really good for me. think I bricked once in the tournament. It was just in the last round, game 3. It's unfortunate. Play 4 planets. These are the best cards in your deck. Every game you see this card, you should probably be winning. Yeah, there's really not much to say about that one. 6 of these, and then I'll put the 2 traps. So these are standard. I don't think you should play less than these. Again, if you brick on them, that's a sacrifice you're gonna have to take to play these high power cards. Having more of these helps you play into hand traps better. Having less of them means you lose to hand traps more often, even though they let you play more non-engine cards. This is probably the second or third best card in the deck. This card matters so much. This is actually how you play through kaijus with the Scareclaw guy.
Really?
Like, if you search this, and then Ogre gets this, and you set it, so you have a Rise Heart this plus whatever non-engine you have. And if they kaiju you, you can wait a little while, but if you need the body right then and there, you can activate this, banish your Rise Heart from the grave, and this can summon it back. And he doesn't need to be Exceed summoned to have all of his effects, so he's still macro, he still banishes cards, still attaches. Big Bang is, some people have been not playing this and forcing themselves to go a Rise Heart pass, but I think going second, this card matters so much because it helps you play into boards. I think if you like rely heavily on your non-engine cards, you might as well just not be playing this deck, because then like you're not taking advantage of the actual engine cards in this deck. You're saying like your Book of Moon's gonna beat your opponent's whole branded board, and that's just not real. Your KASHTIRA cards are gonna beat them. Like, this deck gains so much advantage playing off of one card. Like, your planet's gonna bait out branded in red, it's gonna bait out Mirror Jade a lot of the time. Like, it's just really high power. And this card being in your deck means you can play with less cards. You don't always need 3 monsters on the board to make your board. This with like 2 and an Rise Heart is just good enough. And then the last engine card is Prosperity. I think if your deck's not playing this card, I think you're playing the wrong deck. This is just the best card in the game right now. Every deck sucks right now, so like a card that lets you dig deeper to see the actual good cards in your deck should always be a 3 of in every deck that can play it. This card is just so powerful. Not much to explain. But this is definitely one of those formats where like not every card is created equal. So like I want to see these cards as often as I can, and you can't play more than 3 of them. So yeah, there's 25 engine cards, and then non-engine. I played 5 hand traps.
Just 5?
Yeah. So I don't see the point in playing 6 hand traps if you're only gonna play 6, because the math of like having 5 copies to 6 copies of a card doesn't change that much in 40 cards. It matters a lot if you're on a higher deck count, but a lower deck count, you only want to see like one of these. You don't want your deck to clog on a bunch of these cards. If you want to see 2 hand traps, you're gonna have to play more. You're gonna have to play like 12, 13 hand traps. But like that's not what this format is. I don't think you need hand traps in this format. Like, again, this deck's engine is just better than every other deck's engine. And I was really just gonna play 3 Ash Blossom, but then like I didn't want to play against the Runic Materia deck and just concede the game because I'm playing a bunch of spells. So like they make a Nat Beast and then I just can't play, right? So I wanted to have a chance to have this card, and like it's fine sometimes. Like it sucks. Like I drew the most unrealistic hand in the last round of game 3. It was this. I was like, all right, well, whatever.
That's pretty rough. But
yeah, I think I drew like 4 or 5 cards in that game, and I still didn't draw a KASHTIRA card. Any one KASHTIRA card, I've won the game. But played this. This was probably the best non-engine card I played. This card was super powerful. I didn't play Eclipse because I don't think Eclipse is a going first card at all. I never want to activate it going first. Anytime you actually let your opponent draw cards off of that card, you're probably losing unless you're killing them the next turn. And this deck doesn't do that very often. Plays very control-y, kind of like Zoo. Like, this card, like, if people were making, like, the bigger board of, like, Shangri-La, like, the Lock 3 board, right? I think this card would be worse. But people are making either the Lock 5 or the Lock 0 with a Rise Heart, and this, like, Book of Eclipse isn't... The difference between Book of Eclipse and Book of Moon versus either of those boards is so minuscule it doesn't even matter. Like, you're not even going to activate Book of Eclipse in the Lock 5, so it might as well not even, you might not even care about it. And against a lot, like, just a Rise Heart, you're booking one card. So, like, what's the difference, right? And this card can't be ashed, so. I understand it's 2023, but this card has to be a 3-of in the KASHTIRA deck. You could play cards like Lightning Storm and Duster in the main, because they kind of fill the same purpose as this card. The only benefit is you could set this going first, and it actually has an effect. Otherwise, Lightning Storm and this have the same effect. It's just you basically popping a backer, but this is you're making your opponent play the card. So it's a little bit different. Also, the attack minus on this actually matters a lot. Like, playing into someone's board and then, like, summoning a monster, like summon finish swing, banish a card, and then damage step, lance their monster, kill that, and, like, maybe it's 2 play your turn. It's kind of funny. Came up a couple times. And then okay, this was the best card in my deck, like, hands down. This card was so crazy every time I drew it. Like, going second into a board, it's searching like an engine piece to play through interactions. Like, the fact that it searches this card matters so much, or it searches planet because it searches terraforming. And this was another reason I played this card, because going first, if you get hand trapped, you could set this. And I know it's not like super impactful, but it's something that you could do. Which is one of the reasons, like, people don't really want to play this card, because, like, what does it do going first? Like, sure, it gives you imperm, or you just hold it, and then on the next turn, if, like, it's really hard to die with this deck if you know what you're doing. So, like, on the next turn, you just activate this, and it searches you every power card in your deck. It searches this card too. This card is really cool every time I drew it. Actually, no complaints on these. I wouldn't play more, just because of how tight this deck is. I wouldn't want to go over 41. I'm kind of upset that I'm at 41. But yeah, these were actual MVPs of the weekend. And then this, I was playing 3, and then no imperm, so the deck was at 40. But then, like, I wanted a card to set off of this turn 1, so that was imperm, and then I was like, okay, I don't want 1 imperm, and then I play against a Neteria deck, so I want 2. This card was really good, though. I think I only drew it twice the whole tournament. I don't think this is I don't think this is a card post side anymore, because of how people play to beat this deck. Because it's obviously not a hidden fact that you put a token on this deck's board, it's really hard for it to win. Kind of can't play your deck. So, like, this card can't be activated either. But game 1, they're not going to do that to you blind. Like, no one's going to just give another deck a token, right? So, like, this card's just super high impact. I think game 1 in the mirror, I cleared like 8 cards off of this. And my opponent committed everything, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. Battle phase. He just went down to no cards. It was so funny.
That's wild.
That guy was really nice, though. I think he got his invite. I'm proud of him. He did really, really well. Yeah, that was the main. I really liked the main deck. It played really well. It just sucks that, like, happened in the last round. It was just uncontrollable. Yeah. Extra deck. 3 Dryden. This is the best card in your extra deck. I don't know how this card got printed with all of these effects, but I'm glad it did. Good job, buddy. This card's so cool. Like, one match, I ended the match round 1 with a 20 material Rise Heart and a 10 material one.
Jesus Christ.
Like, every time a card got banished, these were both triggering. It was so funny. Yeah, these are cool. 2 Shang. I was playing 3 for a while, because that's how me, Avery, and Aaron built the deck. But The minute I cut this card to 2 because I wasn't summoning it as often, so like them banishing it didn't really matter. I started to summon this card like a lot more. I summon this card at least once a game now. Like, it's so good into Rogue because Rogue decks can't really kill you. They're so prepped to beat this card that like if you make this with a Unicorn and a Fenrir, and then like say like they clear the Unicorn and Fenrir, right? It's so hard to clear this card, and if this card ever comes back to you on your turn and this effect that resolves, the game's over. Like, this card is so broken. It just picks what you do on the next turn. If you need a monster if you need Fenrir plus a monster, it gets you Fenrir plus a monster. If it gets you Unicorn plus like spell, it gets you Unicorn plus spell. Like, the card does everything you want. And with Planet, this pops a card every turn. This is how you outgrind decks. This is your entire grind game, not really this guy that much. But yeah, these are fine. If I could play more of these, I would. I just don't know what I would change in the extra. 2 Zeus. No one really goes for the Diablosis play anymore, so you don't have to play 2 of these, but like, just in case they do, it's there, right? Like, this deck doesn't need its extra deck that much. You summon these, that's it. So these are fine. Big Eyes for the same reason as this. If you play 1, they're gonna take this every time, so you play 2, that way they can't. They have to take one of your bad cards. Like, if they take this, who cares? You can just Big Eye theirs.
Fair enough.
This card's cool. I can see this card getting banned, so this deck just can't play the way that people don't like how it plays. Because I think that's everyone's just biggest gripe about this deck, is that it could do the Lock 5, but like, it really doesn't. Like, that's not a real play. I don't even go for the Lock 5 anymore when I have it. I found a different play that plays through Nibiru.
So you opted to not do that play at all?
No, I don't think I locked 5. The only time I locked 5 zones was playing into someone's board. Like, you prioritize summoning this, and then you start playing into their board, trading with cards, and then this casually locks all their zones, so it restricts them from playing, like, after they've played.
So you're more like slow-loaded then?
Yeah. Like, one match, I locked 10 zones with this card, just the one, over the course of 2 turns. Like, whoa. I don't think I ever did the Lock 5. A Draco Sack, this is just for Skill Drain. This card doesn't get summoned at any other point otherwise. You could not play it, but then you will lose games to Skill Drain that you shouldn't have lost because this card would be in your deck. So I'd still say play this card. Dark Arm, this card's cool. This card's really cool. Like, if your Big Bang gets like stuck in your graveyard, this gets it out of your graveyard. It triggers the Theosis. It gets the Scareclaw out of your graveyard if it gets stuck in there, so you can add it back off the Theosis. Like, this guy's really cool. I summoned him a lot. I think outside of like these 3, I think he's like the next one that gets summoned the most. I don't summon either of these very much. I did summon this once, lost that game. Yeah, these are good. This was Donner, the for hire thing, but I cut that because I just haven't summoned that card in like a month now, so I don't think there's a reason to play that card. If it ever comes up and that card's not in my deck, that's my fault, but that would just be the one time it's ever come up, whereas like this card, having more cards for the Labyrinth matchup kind of makes it so like you have a chance game 1. And if you can win game 1 against Labyrinth, I think you win the whole match. But it's easier to win 1 game post side than 2. And then these Labyrinth. Also this stops Dragoon from popping your dude.
Really?
So like if you make the Rice Heart board against Branded, and then you just attach him, they can't just Dragoon kill you. They actually have to play their turn, but they're playing their turn into a Macrocosmos, and it's just almost impossible for them to win. But yeah, pretty cool. This just because you could draw a card. Doesn't happen ever, but
But you could.
You could theoretically draw a card, and I like doing that.
I do like to draw cards.
Side deck. I only activated this card once.
Really?
Ever. It's really cool when it happens. I understand how people feel now. How, like, you look at your opponent, say draw phase, pitch this, and the game ends. Like, that's really cool. I don't get to do that very often. When in the last round I played against Dark World, I'm like, okay, if I like played against Dark World, lost game 1, got FTK'd, whatever. And I told myself, like, okay, I just have to draw this once in the next 2 games, and I'd get like 3rd or 4th place in the event. Cool. Obviously, it doesn't happen, but
obviously,
you know, it could though. This guy was awesome that one time. There's an argument to main deck this card because a lot of people, like, if they are playing cash, I think you could just play better than them and just win anyway. I didn't drop a game to the mirror, and that's not because my opponents weren't very good at the mirror or with the deck. It's just because, like, my deck is built to beat the mirror, and like, I don't really put myself in situations for my opponent to gain advantage like that. I don't mess up very often. When I do, it obviously matters a lot, but you know. This is the only card I side for the mirror. I don't even side going first for the mirror. I don't like this card. I don't think it's very good in the mirror. Unless you make them commit to an exceed first, then do this. But like this card's nuts. Beating a level 7 kind of came up once, so you can normal summon it under birth. But like this against everything, it's just really good. This beats the Lock 5 board in the mirror because you're not supposed to activate this guy in the standby phase to special summon. So they won't have a Finner on board. They'll just have like the 4 exceed monsters, and then you do this over a Rise Heart, and then you can just make a Zeus into their board. And the game's over. They've committed every resource possible into this. So it beats that board. And against the Rise Heart pass board, if they don't search Scareclaw, this beats it. Also, if they do search Scareclaw, a lot of the times you can make Big Eye take their Rise Heart before they can get the 3 materials back under him, and then you do whatever you want, right? Now you have their Rise Heart, you can make your Rise Heart. Like, it does a lot.
not bad.
This card was really cool. I was trying to main this, but the fact that you can't set it turn 1 kind of mattered for me.
Okay.
But it had no interaction turn 1, so like, yeah, I don't know. Duster and 3 Cosmic. If your opponent's in the mirror is playing like a lot of cards committing to the board, like Eclipse and everything, you can side this. It's really good against them. But this is just for like Labyrinth and Runic. This card being searchable off of Thrust is really good. This card just spot banishing any card is really good. Also, like, banishes the card so it does it under the Heavenly Prison guy, but you're probably never doing this on a set card. That's kind of dumb. You could just wait for them to flip a card, because it like, against trap decks, if they're not flipping a card, they're not activating it. Like, you don't care about those cards. So
right.
When the card gets flipped, that's when it's a threat. So like, obviously you can't do this on like normal traps, but like, even if they flip, yeah, it's outs floodgates. If they flip like Welcome or Big Welcome, even this like banishing either of those matters a lot, because now like their grind game is getting diminished. Like, this card is also always just really good against them. I think this card is going to start seeing a lot more play after like the next couple weeks. If not for this deck, but for Sprite, a lot of people are playing the deck now, because it's just another deck that you could play that isn't this deck. Is really good into that deck. I side 5 for them. I really need to work on the side patterns with this deck, because I think that was like the biggest thing that I fell off on. But like, this card was like very good every time I saw it. The blanket negating a board, and then like playing into them. Even though you're not killing them, like you're putting them on no cards. This deck, like every card it has interacts with your opponent in some way, shape, or form. So if you have like 4 interactions to 2 cards, even if your interactions aren't like super high impact, you're interacting with every single thing that they do. It's really hard for your opponent to gain momentum through that. And then this for like almost exclusively for branded. I side these going first and second against that deck because when they gimmick puppet you, they kind of end on nothing, and they have to activate another brand of fusion to like kill you on the next turn, unless their hand's just crazy. But if their hand's that crazy, you weren't winning anyway. So like whatever, like you could draw this into them. Also with thrust, it's like having 5 of these. You draw this into their board of like gimmick puppet dude, sets the thing, it sets this, and then call fusion, they pass back to you, and then the next turn you play. And if you get to play at all into branded, you're winning the match. Like that is the deck where like this card's just an FTK against them. This card's so broken. Like banishing all their Albazes, banishing Cartesia in the grave, banishing openings so you can start popping their cards. Like it's super high impact against them. But yeah, that was the deck.
Okay. So throughout the event, what do you feel like was your hardest matchup?
I mean, I guess the Dark World deck because I didn't really get to play, but like I don't even think there was like anything on the deck per se. It was just like my deck didn't get to play. And the guy obviously won Dyrel.
So you feel
I
like
messed up against Sword Soul once, and that was like entirely my fault. But
okay, so you do feel like your deck is just like overall better than every deck in the meta currently?
yeah, I don't think this deck really struggles with anything. Like we were testing over here for a while back with Tevitt playing his Trap Tricks deck, and like theoretically that is supposed to be the worst matchup possible for this deck because like that deck's only designed to beat this deck, and he didn't win a game. Like from that point on, I was like, okay, it just doesn't matter how good a matchup a deck has against this. It just doesn't. Like this deck has the better cards. Just play this deck.
All right, fair. Any other things like you think you might have changed with the deck at all?
Not yet. I'm working on it for the 250th. Don't know what I'm gonna play yet. Might not be this deck at all. But I don't know. I did change the one fossil warrior thing.
Right, from the Donna.
Yeah.
I got you.
That's it.
Okay. All right.
Shout outs. Give shout outs to Luck&Chuck.
Hey.
Shout out to Josh, Chuck, Travis, rode with me. Shout out to everyone in Lafayette. Everyone did pretty well at that event. Shout out to Will Candia. He's a bum.
Shout out to the bums,
Shout out to Cam and Fetty. I like seeing them all the time. It's crazy Cam was out by like round 2. Somehow he was X3 by round 2. That was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy. That's it.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Gobe, as always. All right.